April. So if you have a little bit of spring fever this month and you can't decide what kind of film you want to see, romance, historical epic, drama, sci-fi, well, they're all in this film, La Bête, The Beast. So all you need to know about this one is Léa Seydoux, French auteur extraordinaire Bertrand Bonello, sci-fi, a star-crossed romance, time jumping, lifelike robots, exposed green screens, a weird ceramic doll factory, futuristic hot yoga, and that's just the start of what is a wild ride of a movie. It's a film that makes you think, that stays with you long after the credits roll, which really is the sign of a good movie, oui? And Léa Seydoux is époustouflante as always. She's actually playing 3 roles in this movie. She plays Gabrielle, but through different time periods, opposite George McKay, who follows her. And they actually have really great chemistry in every era. The film brings us from turn-of-the-century Paris to a very Lynchian Los Angeles in 2014, and then a dystopian 2044. It's a romantic thriller. It's a very high-concept contemplation about the meaning of life and the possible end of humanity. Warning, you will have Roy Orbison's Evergreen playing over and over and over in your head after you see this movie. Don't say I did not warn you. It's also a great film to see on the big screen, and it's parfait because it's in theaters now in les États-Unis. And after all that time jumping, it might be nice to settle in one era, namely 1914, at the start of World War I in France, with women at war, les combattantes. It shows the war through the perspective of 4 very different women, a prostitute, a nun, a nurse, and a woman running a factory. And they all stepped in when all the men had to go to the front lines and they had to run things back at home. And it's quite graphic and violent at times. It's très melodramatic, but it's an excellent binge watch, which is actually rare for a historical drama. It stars some of France's best and my favorite actresses, like Audrey Fleurot, who is always wonderful, Julie Dubona, Camille Lou, Sophia Essaidi, not to mention the likes of Sandrine Bonnaire and Florence Doiré-Caille. It may be called Women at War, but the male actors are excellent also, even though most of them happen to be quite evil. But then there's Tom Leb, who plays a hunky heartthrob doctor. If Dr. McDreamy was around in 20th century France, this is what he would look like. The legendary Cheikh Cairo plays a tough military man who actually shows a softer side towards the end. It's very, very moving. The 8 episodes pack in pretty much every dramatic storyline imaginable. There's a secret child, sexual abuse in the church, family betrayal, German spies, a nun tempted with desire, forbidden lesbian love, really everything. It's a little bit soapy, but it's really a great binge watch. It's easy to follow. It's perfectly paced. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. And it really gives you a different perspective of a key period in history. It's very female forward without being too militant or didactic. And it ends very melodramatically. But then it's juxtaposed with a message that actually reminds us that the war lasted for 4 years after the series takes place. So it really puts everything into perspective, and it really packs an emotional punch. There really were women who sacrificed their lives like the protagonists in the war. So I think it's really, really an easy watch, but also one that hits home. So Les Combattantes, Women at War, à binger. And if you became a super fan of Camille Lou from watching Les Combattantes, well, you're in luck because there's another series that she stars in on Netflix, very, very different, called Anthracite. In French, it's Anthracite. This is based on a true crime story that took place in 1994 in the French Alps and a cult that used to operate near an anthracite mine in a small village. The series is set 30 years later when another woman is killed according to similar rituals and culty practices. So, of course, it reopens the investigation. And it zooms in on a young guy. He's played by French rapper and actor Hatik, who's trying to get his life back on track, but then he gets accused of the crime. And then he meets this eccentric, geeky, kind of nerdy girl who's socially awkward, but she's looking for her father, who's a journalist who had been investigating the original crime. It sounds really complicated, but it's actually quite a good watch. It really makes you think. The stories all intertwine. It's very, very dark, but the story keeps you on your toes. It's definitely for fans of true crime, but also police drama. And there's a little bit of a lighter edge and some humor as well. There's a bit of a spiritual, eerie aspect. It's quite a bit of 90s nostalgia, some excellent dance music from the era. So if you're a 90s fan, this one's for you. A lot of twists and turns. It brings you to the French Alps, to a little mountain village, which is kind of nice to get out of Paris, where a lot of series take place. And the scenes of the snowy mountaintops are absolutely beautiful, even though there's a lot of dead bodies and dead animals around. It's a great cast. It's a mix of rising stars and veteran talents, like Cadmerade is in it. Really great. There's a lot of blood, but it's a great binge for one last trip to the snowy mountains before spring sets in. And April showers, bring May films. So see you next month for more French fun. Au revoir.